Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is Shaq85 here, your resident turtle guy, your coach of the championship Seattle Thunderbirds, bringing you guys Pwbc Season 4. We are coming back with a new storm. We have an exciting thing. We're going to do a team analysis, team breakdown of what I decided to draft and who would decided to draft. So it's going to be, again, podcast style. Videos are going to be coming out this Sunday. We faced Nega in week 1. We faced Nega in week 1 last season. We faced Nega in the championship last season. And now we're going to face him again. Basically playing Nega in essence 2 weeks apart. So get excited for that. With that being said, let's kick it over to the team analysis. Alright, my first pick of Season 4 is Darkrai, the legendary of Nightmares. Now, Darkrai is overall an offensive mon, not quite as offensive as Iron Bundle from last season, but it still definitely has some usage. Has a 90 attack stat, nothing to mess around with. 135 special attack is insanely offensive, special attack wise, and 125 speed is very niche. A lot of things don't outspeed that. You have things like Bundle, which got blacked out. Regieleki and stuff like that. So there's not that many Pokemon over the 125 speed tier. Dragapult is a big one. But Darkrai is a pawn I value at a second round pick, but as a mon I knew wouldn't go into the second round. The reason I said is I wanted a lot of second round picks. Darkrai, Iron Treads, Golden Go, Gouging Fire. Like there's so many Pokemon I wanted in like the first, second round. I had a pretty late pick. I think I was 10th out of 14th. So those second round picks were probably going to get taken very quickly. So I was like, I had to pick one second rounder as a first rounder, and I had to be okay with that. And to me, it was Darkrai. Overall, very offensive mon. It has access to Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Dark Pulse, Psychic. Overall, very especially offensive. Sludge Bomb, hit fairies and stuff like that. It honestly can hit decently well on the physical side. 80 is nothing to mess around with. I was actually looking on to see if I played Melee this season, because I was thinking about like X's or Darkrai for Hoopa and Bound, which is really cool. Charge Beam is really niche set, and it gets honestly some really good support. Rain Dance, Psych Up, and stuff like that. So overall, I don't value it as a first round pick, but I think it wasn't going to fall out of the first round, so that's why I wanted to choose Darkrai. And honestly, it's a new mon. I never got to choose before. Prior to Generation 9, this thing was a guaranteed Uber. Even if it was a low tier Uber, still a guaranteed Uber no matter what. So Darkrai isn't going to be the captain or the staple of the team, I don't think. Who knows? I don't know, because the season's long. So who knows how I develop and use Darkrai over the season and over the course of my battles and stuff like that. But I'm excited to try it out. I probably will never get the chance to try it out again. Or I might get it later, so who knows. But that is my first overall pick in Darkrai. Okay, up next we have Iron Treads, the Mongoose. We had Great Tusk last season, and I really did love Great Tusk. It did about what I expected it to do. But I decided to get its cousin from a future past, and getting Iron Treads. Iron Treads is honestly a little bit better in my opinion, and the reason why is, yeah, it doesn't lock that powerhouse physical attack stat. 112 is nothing to mess around with, but where Great Tusk had like 137 or something like that, which is insane. But Treads has a little bit more support, which I like. And honestly, the weaknesses are a little bit better. And what I love the most about Great Tusk is, or it's not about Iron Treads, excuse me, is the steel typing of Iron Treads. The steel type of Iron Treads is so huge because it's a rapid spinner for one of the best rapid spinners in the metagame, guaranteed. But it is also not weak to toxic spikes, which I did kind of struggle with last season with Great Tusk. And the person about toxic spikes, I either had to bring heavy duty boots, or normally I just have to take the T spikes on Great Tusk and just accept that I'm gonna have to deal with that poison damage. But Great Tusk, or sorry, see, I'm too used to Great Tusk. Iron Treads allows me to not have to take on the poison damage, which is really nice. Access to Volt Switch is massive. Having a momentum on a ground type mon in steel type mon is absolutely fantastic. And don't get me wrong, offensive Iron Treads get 100%. Like that 112 is nothing to mess around with. You run like a booster energy attack or even a booster energy speed, and if the matchup is correct, you run like Earthquake. Steel Beam is honestly a really good niche. Volt Switch is there, Knockoff is there, Mega Horn is there. There's so many good utility things on Iron Treads that you can even make the like a utility offensive set. You can make a fully defensive set. Like I've seen a Saltfest. I've seen like a Pasho Berry Iron Treads is very niche. Specials I've seen if they're like especially weak to ground. Like, I'm on like a Petra run as an example. I've seen people run Earth Power and stuff like that. Access Ice Spinner just similar to Great Tusk and stuff like that. So I'm excited to try it. I go from the Warthog of Halo to the Mongoose of Halo. So again, it's a new mon that I get to try, and it's a best rapid spinner in the game, in my opinion, guaranteed. So that is my second overall pick. Yo, it's the young Quavo. Quackleval is here. I've been wanting to draft Quackleval in Pwbc specifically since season 1, where I drafted Meowscarada and Skeletors in season 1, and I didn't get the Quavo because it got taken like a round before I wanted it. So finally I get to use Quavo, and honestly, a lot of these picks I have on my team are 100% based on like what I see other people drafting and like how they use them. And shout out to Joey Pokegame. I saw him use Quavo, and I was like, yes, that just makes me want to use it more than I already wanted to use it in Season 1. I think Quavo is a fantastic mon. Pairing this with Iron Treads is key to me. There's a lot of things I could pair. Like, I was looking at Goldeno's, Quavo, Iron Treads. Like, I was doing like all these 2 or 3 picks, and I was like, what do I want to pair? Who do I want to pair? What types will overlap and stuff like that? And honestly, this pair of Quavo and Iron Treads stuck out to me. Having two of the best 3 rapid spinners in the entire format on the same team has to scare away hazards so much, and I do end up getting another remover. So like removers to me are like, or hazard setters to me are like, they have to worry like, hey, I have to deal with the Iron Treads and a Quavo. Both those have a rapid spin. Both those can run a rapid spin every single week as a 4th move. So why get up hazards if we have to deal with it anyway? But one thing I love about Quavo is Quavo, it's the same thing. Is the option to just win the game. Pokemon and Joey said it very well. There's just a small chance every single game that Quavo can just, hey, I'm gonna Aqua Step here, get this 1 kill. Okay, now because of rocks damage or spikes damage or whatever prior damage that the Pokemon has taken that comes in on Quavo, it's just barely enough in range because you get the Moxie boosted on Quackable, that now that next kill, whatever Quavo goes for, Ice Spinner, Close Combat, another Aqua Step, whatever it wants to go for, that now is in kill range, and then bam, Quackable gets 2 kills, and now you're dealing with a +2, let's say a +2/+2 Quackable, and now the Quackable just ends the game. Is really cool to me. And I honestly, I want to abuse it. Access to momentum, so that's 2 momentum mons is really nice to pair with Darkrai, getting it in, getting it out. And its support is honestly really good as well. Access to knockoff, access to roost, flip turn, obviously with the momentum and stuff like that. Encore is really niche set. It can run the Assault Vest just fine, even though it's with 75 special defense and 85 HP. That is perfectly fine. That's exactly what I like in a Pokemon. Is that natural bulk offense is exactly what I love, and that's what Quavo is. So I'm honestly really excited. I just kind of want to end the game on 1 game, just like, hey, here's a Quavo sweep because Quavo. So that's really the reason behind me wanting to draft Quavo, and why I'm so excited to use it, because I just want to end the game. That being said, that's my round 3 pick, Quackable. Alright, we have the Demon Lord himself, the first Terra Captain off the board for the Seattle Thunderbirds. I knew pretty damn well going into this season that I was drafting Ice Horse. I love the Ice Horse. I've always liked the mon itself since it came out, and I've used it before. And Terra just makes this absolutely disgusting. And like I said previously, a lot of this team is based on what I see other people use. And Glacier is no example. I did see it in Playmore, when Playmore Esports did their draft, and it did a lot of damage. So now it gets to do a lot of damage on my team. But Glacier hits so incredibly hard. That 145 physical attack stat, not Spectre, physical attack stat, is so menacing. Access to things like Icicle Crash, Iron Defense. It gets Outrage, which I plan on running at least once. Access to Trailblaze. And now my son weird to see Trailblaze on a 35 speed set. It can work. I've seen it work. If the team is correct, this team can work. And if you want to run it on the slow side, you can run the Avalanche, and it does 120 base power on a 145 physical attack mon. That's going to do a lot of damage. And it being the Terra Captain of my season, I plan on bringing this a lot. Even if it tears or doesn't tear that week, it still's going to do a lot of things. Access to Iron Defense Body Press is insane from a 100 HP, 130 defense stat. Pair that with a Fairy typing if I want to tear into Fairy and run Body Press like that. It's going to do a lot of damage, and it's pretty much going to be one of my breakers of the team for sure. I very much value the Ice Horse. I honestly, if this thing goes on a tear, I don't see why the Pwbc doesn't ban this from tearing ever again. And then to be honest, it has so much utility. What I said was even done. It has access to high horsepower, stopping tantrum, Throat Chop, then Headbutt. We talked about Trailblaze. Lash Out, like there's so much stuff. Swords Dance, Curse, there's so much utility behind the Ice Horse that it's going to cause a problem for at least one person. I don't see where there's not going to be an Ice Horse sweep in at least one of my videos, to be honest, or at least a break of an Ice Horse. That's probably going to happen multiple times. But I'm very, very excited to draft the Ice Horse and use it in Terra and to be another Terra captain for one of my videos. I have no surprise that I'm going to fall in love with this Ice Horse even more than I already do. And that is my 4th overall pick, Glastrier. Okay, my 5th overall pick is going to be Mythos, the Hydrapple. Now, when I was looking at this team prior to drafting Mythos, I realized I was very, very physically offensive. Barring Darkrai, I had Iron Treads, Quackleval, Glastrier. So I was trying to find my special attack threat. And this is either going to be what it is Hydrapple, or it was going to be my Psychic type that I was also looking at, just kind of depending on where it was. But one thing that we keep to note, again, this is looking back and using my previous knowledge. I struggled last season against Hydrapple, and I struggled last season against a Dipplin. Okay, so I'm just going to draft it on my own, and that's what Hydrapple is there for. Hydrapple is really, really good. You'll notice I'm really covering my Ice type weakness very, very well, and it honestly only gets better from me covering my Ice type weakness. So eliminating that 4 times weakness is just so vital, because people are like, well, he does have that one quad weakness to Ice, but he also has like 6 other resistances to Ice. Do we run it for the one coverage or not? So that's kind of very, very important. But Hydrapple is very good at coverage specifically. Grass and Dragon, very decent coverage. Access to Earth Power, so huge. Hydro Pump is really cool. It has access to Nasty Plot and stuff like that. That kind of usually where it falls off. You can run the Tech Sucker Punch. You can run the Tech Bug Bite and stuff like that. I have no problem running anything like that. Gyro Ball is very, very nice for the base 44 speed that Hydrapple does have. But like I said, I struggled with this last season, so why not put it on my team? And I have the 30% chance for Fickle Beam just to deal base like 180 damage, and I will always go for those odds. I have no problem committing to the crit, committing to the double damage that Fickle Beam does. So we're gonna try out the Apple, and we're gonna see how it rolls. That is my 5th overall pick, Hydrapple. Alright, next up we have a semi-familiar. I think I've drafted Rotom Heat twice before, maybe once. But Rotom Heat is my next overall pick. I really wanted a ground immunity, and to have my ground immunity be on electric and fire type is so nice, because those types are normally weak to ground. And barring a mold breaker, which Excadrill just get drafted, so I do have to worry about that if and when I play Excadrill. But to have 2 of the types that are weak to ground be immunity to ground, so nice. Rotom did kind of fall off this generation. Losing Defog really sucks for Rotom, especially defensive Rotom sets. But they're still there 100%. You still have access to Volt Switch, you still have access to Will-O-Wisp, and with the Hex play and stuff like that. The unfortunate side of Rotom Heat is its primary move is Overheat, which does my special attack stat by 2, but does have access to Nasty Plot now, which is so nice. You can basically Nasty Plot up, overheat twice, and then you're down like that. You could overheat, then Nasty Plot, then you're neutral, then you overheat again. Do stuff like that. But the defensive sets did fall off with that no access to Defog, which is okay. I really wanted this for ground immunity. I'm trying to really cover up my immunities this season, like I talked about in the retrospective or the rewind. Trying to cover up as many holes as possible. And Rotom really fit that bill. This is the 7th overall pick, I believe. So this is the first and only Rotom form I believe got drafted, and there might have been one other. I think Frost got drafted. So overall, like, to have the only Rotom on the entire league is kind of cool. You wouldn't see that in prior generations. But overall, I'm very excited. I've used Rotom Heat before, like I said. It can do the support, it can do the offensive, and it can do the Choice Scarf. It's really cool. Kind of sucks to have my only fire type move on a lot of my Pokemon be Overheat, but I'm cool with it. That is Rotom Heat. The bird is back. The bird is back. Now, I know I said in the rewind I don't have any intention on drafting Pheasantipity. However, I was 6 picks in. I was like, yo, I need these certain types. I had plans on a couple of these Pokemon. Where am I going to get these types? And honestly, it came down to it. I needed like Psychic Ghost, Poison Fairy, and something else. And Pheasantipity was still on the board. I'm like, Is it Pheasantipity time? I actually did not originally draft Pheasantipity. Originally Brickless drafted it, and then he changed it up for something else, and that allowed me to draft it. And honestly, I sniped Club on it because Club was also interested on Pheasantipity. But like I said in the rewind, I didn't like Pheasantipity originally when I used it, but over as the season went on, I started to understand Pheasantipity and started to understand that you just run the tech, just run the heat, run the tech every freaking time on Pheasantipity, and it does a lot of damage and it scares people. That's exactly what it does, and so now I get to experiment and to learn even more how to use Pheasantipity, and people are going to be fearful because of what I brought Pheasantipity with last season. That was literally just a taste. That was literally just me learning Pheasantipity. So now that I'm starting to learn how to master Pheasantipity, I think it's going to be really, really cool. It gives me a special defensive tank that I really, really needed, in my opinion. Sadly, again, Pheasantipity doesn't get defog, like a lot of birds do, or used to do, I should say. Doesn't get T-Spikes. That's okay for me. I plan on getting another T-Spiker later in the draft. But overall, I'm excited to bring the bird back. Hopefully it wins a game or two. I bring out the tech sets and people start to really understand and be the bird. And you know what's crazy about the bird and me drafting again? It got cheaper. It got 1 point cheaper. It's actually originally, it was 11 points last season. It got to 10 points because I convinced him it wasn't that good because we did the tiers prior to me posting a lot of the Pheasantipity uploads and the Pheasantipity love. So it's really kind of cool that I actually got it for even a budgeted or a cheaper price. With that being said, the bird is back. Okay, my not penultimate, the pre-penultimate draft pick is Azelf, Sprite, the Azelf. Um, I will say, we're going to talk about this for a minute. This pick was not originally Azelf. This pick was originally Mew in round 5 or 6. But due to the blackout, Mew got blacked out from Soup, and so I kind of had to pivot a little bit. I knew I probably wasn't going to get maybe one, maybe two of the rockers, so I knew I needed at least a third rocker, or even if I only got one rocker, I would need at least a second rocker. And to be honest, I was basically committed to picking a Psychic type rocker, whether it be Mew, Azelf, or Necrozma. What's great about Azelf is it was actually cheaper than Mew and Necrozma combined. Mew and Necrozma were both in 15 points. Azelf was in 12, but I think is very, very valuable. Having a 125 physical attack set, 125 special attack set, you can run it both ways. This is this is the ultimate Gen 4 lead. Run Stealth Rocks, run Focus Sash, run Explosion. They're probably gonna die, if not be at very, very low. You can get things like Quavo and start that sweep. You can get things like Darkrai and start that sweep. You can do so many things with it. Glastrier can sweep from that range. So that's what I very much like it. It has extra momentum and stuff like that. Draining Kiss is very, very nice. Calm Mind, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Grass Knot, Knockoff. It's a Store Power, Calm Mind Store Power set as well. Access Stealth Rocks, which is why I really very much wanted it. Taunt, Thunderwave, Trick, U-Turn. There's so many cool things you can do with Azelf. It could be the offensive, it could be the support, it could be the mix and stuff like that. But what I liked most about Azelf was it was a Levitator. So now I have 2 Levitators, which helps out in the ground weakness, which wasn't really there at this point, because I already had 1 Levitator. But it just helps out the Iron Treads so much more. It helps out Pheasantipity so much more, because now you have to deal with 2 Levitators, and we're going to talk about my third, in quotes, Levitator. So ground types, be wary, because you're going to have to deal with 3 immunities to ground, so you might not hit those Earthquakes as much and stuff like that, or Earth Power and stuff like that. Because you can do that, that allows me to get in those Pokemon for freer and stuff like that. So overall, I'm super excited. I think I've used Azelf once, but I didn't like it, so I just kind of put it off the team. I just focused on the other members of the team. So I'm excited to try it out. And honestly, getting Azelf in the 8th round was very, very nice. And was, again, about Azelf, it was 3 points cheaper, so it allowed me to get my last pick for even more expensive of a Pokemon. Okay, my second Terra captain of the league is going to be Drifblim. Now, I watched Chimpact use this thing to perfection, in my opinion, in SPL. That thing was like an underrated, and he used it almost every single week. It caused problems almost every single week. So I decided, hey, let's pair the 2 character captains that I think did the most damage in SPL, being Glastrier and Drifblim, and I literally put them together on the same team. Rocking Flying, Fighting, and Ground. Now, the reason it is not Fairy like Chimpact had Drifblim was because we did something special with our Terra Captains this season. We've been kind of switching up the Terra Captains metagame every single season of Pwbc. What's different this season is we have to have unique Terra types. So, if a Mon has a specific Terra type, like Drifblim has Flying, no other Pokemon on our team could have the Flying Terra type. So, that means fairy is a very interesting one because you can only ever have one fairy type. You can only ever have one water type, which are very, very common terra types that most people ran if once, if not twice, last season. So we had to decide which one gets which type. And overall, I think I value Terra Fairy Glacier over Terra Fairy Driplim. And honestly, ground's really, really nice. Nega pointed out to me ground's very useful because I wasn't too high on ground, because I'll be my second ground type and potentially into a third ground type. But Terra Ground allows me to say, hey, you're an electric type. I'm gonna Terra Ground up in your face. You're not gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna immune where I'm normally weak to it, and now I can Calm Mind. I can Key a Berry. I can do all this stuff. I can be a Driplim, which the offensive Driplim that just kind of wins the breaks down teams or wins the games, and I'm immune, stuff like that. Fighting is so nice on Drifblim in my opinion. It like fighting Fairy is a fantastic Terra Fairy. If I didn't have Glacier with Terra Fairy, I would 100% would be Terra Fairy Drifblim, and it's kind of running that. But outside of the offensive Calm Mind, Kia Berry, stuff like that, leftovers, Driplim, um, it gets a lot of support, access to Pain Split, access to Strength Sap, another Will-O-Wisp user, which I think is my fourth of the team. So physical attacks, Beware, access to Tailwind, stuff like that, Thunder Wave, Weather Ball is really, really cool as a tech. So like I said, I saw Chimpact use Drifblim, and I just wanted to use it just to test it out. It's a Pokemon I don't believe I think I've drafted it in an Unburdened meta game before, but I didn't really use it that much. But now I get drafted in a Terra meta game. So that is my second to last pick of Drifblim. Alright, my final pick of Pwbc Season 4 is Bob the Quagsire. Now, I did look into Quagsire, and then I decided I actually wanted something else. I wanted a different poison. I was actually looking at Quillfish Asui, because, again, I saw Joey use it. But Nega actually convinced me on different Quagsire. It's kind of weird, but it's weird and good. I do have 3 ground types now, which is kind of interesting. Because if you run Terra Drifblim ground, I probably won't run all 3 ground types in the same week. So that's fine. Quagsire does a little bit differently than what the other ground types do. It's very much a support mon, not really very much a physical offensive ground type. Access to spikes and T-spikes, which is very, very nice. It gives me an unaware mon, which is huge. Access to toxic steel, which is very, very nice. And overall, it's just gonna be there to support. I covered the grass weakness very, very well. I think my only other grass weakness is my other water type in Quavo. And a bulky water is arguably one of the most staples things that a team needs in a draft league. And it was 8 points. I had 8 points left. Didn't really want to dip into getting like a 5-point mon and like a 3-point mon. So just rounding out 10 mons this season. I don't know how much I'm going to use Quagsire, to be honest, because I'm going to probably want to use the rest of my team so much. But it's there. It has to fairly, if they're going for setup, let's say I go set up Dragapult or something like that. Hey, you have to deal with an unaware Quagsire who has an ice move and knockoff and stuff like that. So it makes them second guess it. So we'll see how it goes. Overall, I'm very, very excited. My favorite thing over this season is there's so many value picks I got. Like 12 or not. Sorry, I have like 11-point mon, a 12-point mon, a 10-point mon, an 8-point mon. Another 12-point mon. So like overall, I got like a mid to high tier value Pokemon, which are very, very mild, and it's not as threatening, I will admit, as last season. And the season before that, I definitely had all the powerhouse. This is very much a bulky offense, more towards bulky balance team. But I'm excited to try it out. There's so many new mons that I haven't got to use before. I don't think there's any Pokemon on this team that I've used more than once, and even if I use that Pokemon once at all. So that is my team for Season 4 of Pwbc. My first battle is going to be happening this Sunday, give or take. That's when the video will be posted. Look out for that. This is Shaq85 with a deep voice. Peace out. Thank you.